Alright, so today we are going to talk about factoring out a GCF of a polynomial. So, a GCF is a greatest common factor. When we look for the GCF of a polynomial, we first look at all of the coefficients. So in this example, we have 3x to the fourth minus 6x to the third plus 9x to the fifth. So we're looking at 3 versus negative 6 versus 9. So our GCF of those would be 3, because all of them are divisible by 3, and 3 is the highest number that we can divide out of all of them. Now we're also going to look at the variables. So we have x's in all of them. Since we have an x in all three terms, we are going to pick the x with the lowest exponent. So we have 4 versus 3 versus 5. Our lowest exponent is 3. So x to the third can be taken out of this polynomial. So now, in order to factor out the GCF, we have to divide each term by the GCF. So our first term is 3x to the fourth. We are going to take 3x to the fourth and divide that by 3x to the third. 3 divided by 3 we know is 1. X to the fourth over x to the third becomes x to the 4 minus 3, which simplifies to x. So that becomes 1x, or just x. Next term is negative 6x to the third. Negative 6x to the third divided by 3x to the third. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. X to the third over x to the third becomes x to the 3 minus 3, which becomes x to the 0. Cancels out, we don't have to write it. So we just have negative 2 left there. Our last term is 9x to the fifth. So we're going to do 9x to the fifth divided by 3x to the third. 9 divided by 3 is 3. X to the fifth over x to the third becomes x to the 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 is 2, so our last term is 3x squared. Now, we need to write this in standard form. So standard form tells us to put our variables in order from highest exponent to lowest exponent. So we have x, a constant, and we have x squared. So our x squared term is going to come first. So we have 3x squared. Our x will come next, plus x, and then our constant goes at the end. So that minus 2. The only other thing we have to write is our GCF has to come right in front. So we put that 3x to the third in front, and that is our final answer. Alright, so now our second example is 8x to the fourth y squared plus 12x to the third y to the fifth minus 16xy to the sixth. So we're going to start out the same. We are first going to find our GCF. Our GCF of this one, number-wise, we have 8 versus 12 versus negative 16. So our GCF of that is going to be 4. Then we are going to look at our variables. We have an x in all of them, and we have a y in all of them. So we're going to start with our x's. So I'm going to write down an x, I'm going to write down a y. Our x's, we have x to the fourth, x to the third, and x, we can think of that as an invisible 1 on that one. So our lowest exponent is 1. So that is what we take out, x to the first. Now let's look at our y's. We have y squared, y to the fifth, y to the sixth. Our lowest exponent of y's is a 2. So our GCF becomes 4xy squared. Now, just like before, we are going to divide each term by our GCF. So, our first term is 8x to the fourth y squared. We divide that by 4xy squared. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we have 2. X to the 4th over x becomes x to the 4 minus 1. And then y squared over y becomes y to the 2 minus 2. So our 2 we bring down. X to the 4 minus 1 becomes x to the 3rd. Y to the 2 minus 2 cancels out, so we don't have any y's left there. Our next term, we have 12 x to the 3rd, y to the 5th. Divide that by 4x y squared. 12 divided by 4 is 3. X to the 3rd over x becomes x to the 3 minus 1. And then y to the 5th over y squared becomes y to the 5 minus 2. So our 3 we bring down. X to the 3 minus 1 becomes x squared. Y to the 5 minus 2 becomes y to the 3rd. And then our last term, we have negative 16x y to the 6th divided by 4x y squared. Negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. X over x is x to the 1st minus x to the 1st. So x to the 1 minus 1. Y to the 6 over y squared becomes y to the 6 minus 2. We bring down that negative 4. Our x's cancel out. And our y to the 6 minus 2 becomes y to the 4th. So now the last thing that we have to do here is bring down that GCF in front. Now you may be wondering why I didn't have to rewrite this in standard form. The reason for that is because it is already in standard form. If we go alphabetical order, so we look at our x's first, we go from highest x exponent to lowest x exponent. So we have x to the 3rd, x squared, and then no x's. So we're good with that. So our final answer becomes 4xy squared times 2x to the 3rd plus 3x squared y cubed minus 4y to the 4th. And that's it.